A man is falsely convicted of murdering his wife. On the way to death row, his prison bus is struck by a freight train, and that train wreck was completely real. The Fugitive, 1993, turned a wrongful conviction thriller into one of the most physically dangerous shoots of the decade. Harrison Ford plays Dr. Richard Kimble. Tommy Lee Jones plays the relentless Deputy Marshal Samuel Gerard. Cella Ward plays the murdered wife, Helen. Joe Pantoliano plays the Marshal Cosmo Renfro. Jerome Crabbe plays the surgeon Charles Nichols. Andreas Katsoulas plays the one-armed man, Sykes. Director Andrew Davis built the film around real trains, real dams, and a script that barely existed. Kimble crawls from the burning wreckage as the marshals close in. Behind almost every frame is a story the audience never knew. 20 facts, counting down. Fact 20. The film's most famous speech was written by marketing. After the crash, Gerard stands over the wreckage and addresses a room full of officers. He orders a hard target search of every warehouse, farmhouse, and in the line everyone quotes, every outhouse and doghouse. Screenwriter David Towie has said the copywriters cutting the trailer wrote that speech, not the script team. Tommy Lee Jones reportedly hated performing lines handed down from marketing executives. He delivered it anyway. Gerard snaps his folder shut, and the manhunt begins. Kimble is already gone, slipping into the tree line as the marshals fan out behind him. The single most iconic moment in the movie came from an advertisement. Fact 19. Gerard's coldest line was invented on the spot. Kimble is cornered at the mouth of a storm drain, soaked and desperate. He turns to Gerard and swears he didn't kill his wife. Gerard levels his weapon and answers with 3 cold words. I don't care. The exchange defines both men in a single breath. That reply was improvised by Tommy Lee Jones and was never in the script as written. Kimble takes the only way out and drops off the spillway into the water far below. Gerard stares down after him, stunned that any man would jump. 3 words of ad-lib became the emotional hinge of the entire chase. Fact 18. Kimble's breakdown scene was entirely unscripted. Early in the film, Kimble sits in a Chicago police interrogation room still in shock. Detectives press him about the night his wife died. He begins to come apart, insisting he fought the intruder, his voice cracking. That collapse was improvised by Harrison Ford on the day it was shot. The detectives lean in as Kimble stares at the table, unable to explain the blood. Helen appears in flashback, struggling with the one-armed man in the dark house. Kimble's raw grief in that room is real acting caught live, with no lines to fall back on. Fact 17. The movie began shooting without a finished script. When cameras first rolled, the ending did not exist yet. The medical conference showdown and the parade escape were both invented during production. Screenwriter Jeb Stewart reworked pages while the cast waited on set. Whole scenes were rewritten the very morning they were filmed. On screen, none of that chaos shows. Kimble moves through the city with total purpose, chasing the one-armed man from one lead to the next. Gerard chalks fresh suspects onto his board and closes in. A thriller this tight was, behind the scenes, being assembled almost day by day. Fact 16. The parade chase was filmed at the real parade. Kimble ducks into a crowd of marchers to lose the marshals on his tail. That crowd was the actual Chicago St. Patrick's Day parade, shot handheld among real spectators. The production got permission from the mayor's office and simply sent the actors into the throng. Gerard shoulders through the marchers, scanning faces, losing his man in a river of green. Kimble drifts along with the parade, hidden in plain sight, before slipping down a side street. Camera operators chase the two of them through a live public event with no extras and no second take. Fact 15. Chicago's real mayor appears in the parade scene. As Kimble weaves through the marchers, the film quietly captures the city's actual officials on the route. Mayor Richard M. Daley is among the dignitaries marching that day. Illinois Attorney General Roland Burris walks the same parade nearby. Neither man is a planted extra. They were truly there, and the camera caught them. Kimble passes through the same frame, a wanted man surrounded by the very authorities hunting him. Gerard pushes closer behind him, oblivious to the joke. The irony was a pure accident of shooting on a real parade day. Fact 14. Harrison Ford was far from the first choice for Kimble. Before Ford signed on, the studio circled several other leading men. Alec Baldwin was attached to the role while an earlier draft was still in development. Nick Nolte was considered too, then decided he was too old for the part. Ford eventually took it, drawn to a role unlike his usual heroes. On screen, Kimble is no action star. He is a surgeon running scared, dyeing his hair over a bathroom sink to disappear. Kimble improvises, hides, and thinks his way forward. It is hard now to picture anyone else inside that coat. Fact 13. Gene Hackman was once in line to play Gerard. The role that made Tommy Lee Jones an icon nearly went elsewhere. Gene Hackman was among the actors considered for Deputy Marshal Gerard. Jon Voight was in the mix as well. Either man would have reshaped the entire dynamic of the chase. Instead, the part went to Jones, and Gerard became the definitive movie manhunter. Gerard barks orders across the wreckage, owning every room he steps into. He never breaks stride, tracking Kimble from the tunnels to the rooftops. The character is now unthinkable as anyone else, but for a while, he almost was. Fact 12. The studio forbade Harrison Ford from growing a beard. Ford wanted facial hair to help vanish into a man on the run. The Warner Brothers chairman refused, saying he was paying for Harrison Ford's face. He wanted that face unobstructed and instantly recognizable. So Kimble goes on the run clean-shaven, changing only his hair and his glasses. Kimble slips past a cop on a hospital elevator, disguised by nothing but nerve. He walks straight through crowds as himself, barely hidden at all. The studio protected its star's face, and the character had to escape without a single whisker to hide behind. Fact 11. Kimble's limp came from a real untreated injury. During the woodland scenes, Harrison Ford tore ligaments in his leg. He refused surgery until the shoot wrapped so the limp would stay in character. Watch Kimble afterward, and the injury is right there on screen. Kimble hobbles down a wooded slope, favoring the bad leg as dogs bark behind him. He drags himself along a drainage tunnel, breathing hard. Every run for the rest of the film carries that real hitch in his stride. The pain you watch Kimble push through was Ford's own, and he kept it in on purpose. Fact 10. Harrison Ford dummies were built for one jump. The dam plunge is the film's signature image, and Ford did not take that fall. 6 lifelike dummies of him were commissioned, each costing thousands of dollars. They were hurled off the dam for the shot, and not one survived intact. Their frustrated maker had hoped to rent them out again afterward. On screen, Kimble stands at the lip of the spillway with Gerard's gun trained on him. Kimble looks at the water far below, then leaps out into open air. The plummeting body that sells that stunt is a shattered mannequin, not a movie star. Fact 9. The dam's dramatic tunnel was a Chicago warehouse fake. The confrontation before the jump feels carved right into the dam itself. That maze of tunnels was actually built inside a warehouse hundreds of miles away. Only the final section was shipped out and rigged onto the real Chiowa Dam. Kimble backs down the concrete passage as Gerard advances with his pistol raised. Kimble bursts out of the tunnel mouth into blinding daylight and open water. Gerard reaches the edge a single beat too late. The seamless drop from tunnel to dam stitched together 2 locations a whole state apart. Fact 8. A brain tumor forced the film's most sudden recasting. The villainous Dr. Charles Nichols was first given to the actor Richard Jordan. Jordan fell gravely ill with a brain tumor and had to leave the production. He died only 3 weeks after the movie reached theaters. Jerome Krabbe stepped in and played Nichols in his place. On screen, Nichols greets Kimble as a trusted old friend, all warmth and concern. Nichols smiles across a crowded gala moments before Kimble exposes him to the room. The most trusted face in Kimble's world was recast amid a genuine tragedy behind the camera. Fact 7. Julianne Moore's role was cut down from a full subplot. Early plans gave the film a traveling structure with a romance along the way. Julianne Moore was set to play a far larger part, a love interest for the fugitive. Most of that thread was cut as the story tightened around Chicago. What survives is a single, sharp hospital scene. In it, Dr. Ann Eastman catches Kimble tampering with a patient's chart. Kimble has quietly corrected a boy's misdiagnosis to save the child's life. She studies him, suspicious, as Kimble slips back into the corridor. A whole romantic storyline shrank down to one tense exchange over a clipboard. Fact 6. The first cut nearly ran as long as Titanic. The initial assembly ran 3 hours and 10 minutes, only 4 minutes shy of Titanic. It opened with a leisurely half hour before Kimble ever became a fugitive. The editors realized the man in the title spends far too long not running. They carved the opening down hard. Now the wreck frees Kimble fast, and Kimble is on the move within minutes. Kimble scrambles from the ruined bus and vanishes into the woods. A bloated 3-hour drama was sharpened into a lean, relentless chase. Fact 5. Harrison Ford fought to kill off a supporting character. When the Marshal Cosmo Renfro is shot during the chase, the script let him live. Ford argued the wound should have been fatal and pushed back on set. Director Andrew Davis found his compromise in the way he staged it. He filmed Gerard and Kimble driving off first, then wheeled the still-breathing Renfro out afterward. On screen, Renfro lies bleeding on the pavement as the team scrambles around him. Gerard kneels beside his wounded man in the chaos. A quiet argument between star and director shaped who walked away alive. Fact 4. Tommy Lee Jones swore no one would win awards. During the grueling parade shoot, Jones turned to his co-star Joe Pantoliano with a prediction. He said nobody was going to win any awards for this film. He could not possibly have been more wrong. The movie earned Jones the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. As Gerard, he owns every scene, barking down a phone, cornering Kimble in a laundry room. Gerard stares Kimble down across a crowded courthouse lobby. The performance he dismissed on set became the one that defined his whole career. Fact 3. A summer action movie scored 7 Oscar nominations. Few expected a manhunt thriller to become a serious awards contender. The Fugitive collected 7 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. It stood beside the season's prestige dramas as a genuine heavyweight. Critics praised its craft, its pace, and its 2 leads. On screen, the reason is plain enough. Kimble and Gerard circle each other for 2 hours without a single wasted beat. Kimble races along a rooftop as Gerard closes the gap below. A popcorn chase movie earned the kind of respect studios reserve for prestige drama. Fact 2. The film became one of the biggest hits of 1993. Made for around $44 million, the movie was a runaway success. It grossed close to $370 million worldwide. It held the top spot at the box office for 6 straight weeks. Only a couple of films outperformed it that entire year. Audiences kept coming back for the chase, for Kimble slipping the net again and again. Kimble ducks a marshal on an escalator as Gerard scans the crowd for him. A story of one framed man outran nearly everything else in theaters that summer. Fact 1. The train wreck was completely real, filmed in one take. There was no model and no computer trickery for the crash that frees Kimble. A real prison bus was struck by a real freight train on real track in North Carolina. In 1993, wrecking an actual train cost less than faking one. Retired locomotives were bought outright just to be destroyed. 14 cameras rolled at once, one of them buried under 26 feet of dirt, and it still got the shot. The crew had a single chance, and they nailed it. On screen, Kimble throws himself clear as the train tears the bus apart and grinds to a halt. That mangled wreckage still sits beside the tracks in Dillsboro today, where tourists ride out to see it. The most spectacular stunt in the movie is a real crash you can still go and visit. From a manhunt speech written by ad men to a wreck you can still visit, The Fugitive hid its best stories in plain sight. If you missed these the first time, you will never watch the chase the same way again. Subscribe for more secrets buried inside the movies you thought you knew. The truth was in the frame the whole time.